can start. Okay, so I think now the streaming is live as well. So good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Marius Chaudhry. I'm the CEO of Illumined Minds. I hope now you can also see me. I'm very glad to see so many participants. I know that many of you are from Karachi as well and from all over Pakistan. So thank you very much for joining. We have our assistants here following us also, Rose and my colleagues from our office in Lahore. So in case there is any problem, I think they will notify me. But anyway, you can also put on the chat if at some point you notice something goes wrong or you cannot access anymore. All right, so I'll start with the presentation. So in short, we are a relatively young team. Most of our members are, uh, let's say, less than 40 years old, except for our leader in Lahore, um, Ms. Zarina Sadiq, who is very experienced in education in Pakistan for many, many years, and she has been helping us quite a lot lately. We are the official organizer of the Bebras Challenge in Pakistan. Um, since 2024, we continued basically the work that I already did since the beginning of Bebras in Pakistan, since 2016. So basically, I've been doing that for a long time, but previously it was under the leadership of my father, and after his death, I continued this competition. And here you have the link for our website where you can see more information. At the moment, there might be some pages that are not fully functional because we are doing a reshape of the website. And I think it's looking better now. But in case there are some pages that at the moment are not fully complete and you need some information sooner than then just get in touch with us. Okay. So here you can see some of the members in our team. On the top left is our leader in Lahore, Ms. Zaina Sadiq. Then we have our national manager, Amar Ali, who is also in charge of all the area around Islamabad. Then you can see on his right, Ms. Naviga Rose, who is also here present, and her sister on the top left, on the bottom left, sorry, Ms. Rutaba. They are in charge of all the public relations. On the bottom there is myself. On the right is one of my technical assistants, Janus Gorgos. He's he's one of my helpers in all the technical side of the competition. So all the preparation of tasks, um, submission, correction for the workshops, and so on. So when we prepare the tasks, we have a team of computer science experts, among which you'll notice, let's say, one of our oldest members in that area. Okay. How did this Bebras start? Well, it was established in Lithuania in 2004. It's an international initiative which is aiming to promote informatics, basic computer science, and computational thinking among students across all ages in schools. And since 2004, it has grown quite a lot. We'll see in the following slides some numbers about the current participation in BEBRAS across the world. And here on the bottom, you have the link if you want to check the official BEBRAS website. So it's this one, bebras.org. This is the official link for the main organization. Okay. Now, I mentioned that BEBRAS is about computer science and computational thinking. Well, the competition itself is actually mostly about computational thinking, which is slightly different than the, let's say, usual expectation that, okay, students are going to be doing some coding or they need to write programs. In this competition, we rarely have to write programs. Or if they have to write programs, as we'll see during the task, this is, let's say, minimal coding. It's mostly about thinking. So here we have some details I will present now about what is this computational thinking. So it's basically a universally applicable attitude and skill set for everyone, not just computer scientists. And actually, recently I just had an interview with one of our winners for the past edition, who told me he's actually interested in following the medical career. And so I asked him how come he was so interested in the Bebras challenge, because he also got one of the gold medals. And he said that he liked very much the approach of the competition and the fact that you have to think logically about solving the problems. So it's something that can be very, very broad. Um, it's, we can say it's an essential skill um, for many of the tools and applications that we use today. So it's about how you go and solve interesting problems with the help of computers. And of course, since it is computational thinking, it will inevitably involve computer science concepts. Um, but it's not necessary for the students, for the children that participate in the competition, to know in advance some particular topic or some particular concept of computer science. So all the tasks in our competition are made in such a way that students can participate and solve tasks by just thinking about it, reasoning about the task. And then eventually they will understand the concept that is behind that task. So this last point is also important, that we try to make this computational, to use the computational thinking to solve something that seems perhaps very difficult by splitting it into sub parts. All right. Um, Now, this is a sort of summary of computational thinking. The takeaway message is that it's a fundamental skill, so it's not something just related to computer programming or something like that. And it complements and combines mathematics and engineering skills for a wide range of applications. And here on the bottom, I have added a reference for a very nice article on what is computational thinking. So in case some of the principals or educators here present um, want to check it. Okay. About the task, this is one of the slides that was made by the community in Bebras, some of the organizers. regarding the summary of what would be, let's say, the expected um, content or the expectation from this competition. So basically, the tasks that we use in Bebras should represent some computer science concept, but should stimulate the computational thinking and, of course, should motivate the learning of informatics in schools. Um, Perhaps for many of them, it will open some new knowledge, particularly if the contents or the concepts that we discuss in the Bebras challenge are not done at the school. It should also be helpful to facilitate a deeper understanding of technology, since many of the tools that we use today use computer science topics in one way or another. For example, even this streaming that we are doing right now, it uses many concepts of computer science. First of all, as you can imagine, computer vision, but then things like data encoding, how to transmit data very efficiently, so that and at a good quality, so that you can hear my voice, see my video, see my slides, but at the same time in a decent quality and with the fewest amount of data exchange. So the compression and the encoding is very important here. Also, things like security and encryption are very popular nowadays. For example, all this communication is encrypted, so that if someone wants to see the details and is not actually enrolled in the platform, should not be able to see it. And many other things. Signal processing for the audio quality and so on. The task should generally be solvable within a few minutes, as it's mentioned here. Not necessarily for all of them. There are some, let's say, harder tasks, particularly, let's say, for the last levels, which are meant to be slightly more difficult. Maybe for those students require maybe slightly more time. But typically, the tasks are made such that during the time of the competition, a student can solve. For example, in Pakistan, we have about 20 tasks, 21 tasks for each age group. And finally, they should also be interesting and funny, so they are interesting and appealing for students. Okay. So about myself, um, I am the CEO of Illumined Minds, and I have a PhD in computer science from the University of Cambridge, where I graduated in 2014. And I'm currently an associate professor of computer science at University Polytechnic of Bucharest. And I'm trying, we aim to continue the academic excellence work that my father started, first with a mathematics competition and then with Bebras. So my father, Professor Aladita Raza Chaudhry. Okay, now I would like to say a few words about the advantage of the children participating in Bebras, so that maybe those of you that are principals or are coordinators in schools can understand maybe a little bit more why the students should participate in the competition. So first of all, by participating in Bebras, you have access to an international competition, which is following basically the same standards, the same questions, were mostly the same, because each country has the flexibility to adapt a little bit the questions, but the larger set of questions from which we make the competition is the same across the entire world. So all the continents, Europe, America, Asia, Australia, and so on. So that means that also the certificates that the students receive and the medals that we give represent an international token for them, because they can use this as a certification that they have participated in this competition, which is widely recognized and known worldwide right now. For example, even in the United Kingdom, where the next workshop is going to be held, the International Bebras Workshop, where we meet to prepare the questions and to discuss um, how Bebras evolves for the following years and how to improve things. So the next workshop is going to be held in Cambridge mid-May. Um, they have a large number of participants. They do the competition already for several years, and they are also doing it in collaboration with Raspberry Pi, which maybe some of you already know. So the Raspberry Pi Foundation is linked with Bebras and is in charge of organizing it in the UK. As we do it in Pakistan, they do it in the UK. So we provide the certificates, medals to the top, to the best students in the competition, and also several gifts and awards in various shapes. For example, this year I think we gave some cups with our logos, keychains, many other things like pens, notepads, and some other things. And we try to provide to all the schools. And also we give some special prizes, like cash prizes to the top overall students. And in addition to this, starting with last year, well, basically this year we did the interviews. Um, I promised to give my own personal recommendation to the best students, so basically to the medalists, after a personal interview. So just yesterday I had the interview with most of the medalists, just to confirm that they indeed know how to solve these questions, so to have an extra verification step and have a discussion with them. And this is what we did yesterday, and we'll be sending this special recommendation soon to these students. For teachers, I think there is also some advantage for participating in Bebras. So again, because the teachers and coordinators have the chance to participate in an international competition, and of course receiving certificates of participation, but also because they receive the access to the training materials, which can be useful for their own students, so they can in, improve their academic records by the fact that they will be adding one international competition to their portfolio. And of course, they can promote themselves if they get excellent results, because we make all our results available on our webpage. I will show you in a moment, for example, for the winners um, in the top groups. And so teachers and even principals, why not, can use this as a reference of their achievements and their performance in the school. For example, if you are the winner across some category, I think this is quite an extraordinary achievement, because it's not necessarily easy on that. Just to respond to some of the comments that I see here on the chat. So this recording is streamed live right now on our YouTube channel also. So just in case you want to pass it to someone, and it's also being recorded. So we will try to make this available after after the session, maybe after we do some post-processing on it, in case we need to shorten something, but we'll try to make it available as soon as possible. Okay. So here is an overview of the Bebras challenge over the world until April 2025. So for the challenge of 2024, so this was the previous one, not the last one that we just had, but these are the statistics that were already collected and processed across Bebras on the entire world. So at the moment, there are, I think, more than 74 countries participating, because since 2024, there were a few others also joining. So you see that it has been growing quite a lot since 2004, so after 20 years. There are about 56 full member countries, um, including Pakistan, so we are a full member in Bebras, and about more than 18 now provisional member countries. Provisional member countries means countries that have joined Bebras relatively recently, so in the past few years, and they just need to confirm their activity and their participation for a few years in order to be accepted by the community as a full member. And on the bottom, you can see the total number of participants across these 74 countries. So for 2024, there were almost 4 million participants in Bebras worldwide. And I'm expecting that for the past year, for the 2025 competition, basically, this number will probably increase. That's my expectation because in many countries, the participation has been increasing lately. And even in Pakistan, for the past year, we have increased our participation since 2024. And we hope to increase even furthermore this year. This is an image so you can get a feeling of the beverage community. So this photo was taken at one of the international beverage workshops a few years ago. I think this one was in Serbia, if I'm not mistaken. And here you can see members from across the world. Basically, they are the representatives of Bebras in their own country. Like I'm representing Bebras in Pakistan. Each of the members that you can see here is representing Bebras in their respective countries. So in the middle, for example, is the representative from Korea. On his left is Valentina, the founder of Bebras from Lithuania, and so on. Um, there are a few facts about our challenge that we just completed this past year in 2025. So we had more than 1,800 students this time across the entire country. We had about 15 medalists in junior and student groups. There were a total of 5 gold medals across these higher groups. So we have a total of 6 age groups across all ages from 6 years old to 18 years old, which we divide in groups according to the school grades. So for example, school grade 1 and 2 is one group, school grade 3, 4 is another group, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12. So these are the group, and junior and student are the higher groups. So for grades 9, 10, and 11, 12. And of course, we provided all the certificates and the prizes to each school, but in particular for these medalists, we gave a special certificate and the medals, and also the possibility for these interviews that we just held yesterday. And here is the list, so you can see the spread over some of the schools for these medalists in 2025. So as you can see, we had here um, several schools from where students obtained the medals. So it's nice to see that different schools managed to obtain the highest scores in our competition. So as you can see, 92 was the largest score for this past year, obtained by Mr. Mohamed Ayan Ahmed. You can also see an interview that he accepted to give us on our YouTube channel if you want to hear some of his own feedback about the competition. Okay, now I would like to tell you a little bit about the overview of how the competition runs, in case you don't know much about it yet. So I'm going to explain now how you can enroll students and schools and so on. So this is the process. First of all, you need to register your school. So we have already opened our school registration. There is a fee for school registration. And once we have a form which our representatives can send you and will also be available on our website. So once you fill this form, and you send your registration confirmation fee, we will send you back a confirmation that you are registered and with further details. And then in September, we will be expecting the student registration, basically the list of student names. The student names um, for your school. After after receiving the student registration, again you will get a confirmation from our team, and then at that point you will be registered for the competition, and we will be preparing the booklets for all the schools that have registered their students. So we have a deadline for this about 1 month before the competition starts. The competition was typically at the beginning of December, but this year we will shift it to make it slightly earlier. So we will do it in November. In November this time. Um, we'll do it in November, and we will announce the exact dates you can find on our website for that. So just before the competition will start, you will receive the booklets and the question papers at your school. So we will send this by post to your school. So the principal is typically in charge of receiving this and distributing to the coordinators. Then, of course, you will hold the competition in your school um, in with good observation. So our request, this is also very important, is that all the schools uh, do a proper observation of the competition, because we cannot be attending all the schools and observing the competition. So um, we rely on the fairness of the schools for that, but we also do some checkings. For example, even this year, uh, we had to stop some of the schools and the results because it was very clear that many that the students basically took the same response, and of course we had to cancel the responses. So the schools send their responses after the competition, and eventually, after we process all the responses, we give the results to the schools. We announce the results. We publish also the top scorers on our website, and then we send the prizes. And of course, the top students receive the medals and are invited for the interviews, which typically take place next year. So overall, the process uh, takes a few months until we are finished with all the letters and everything. But I think in the end, the students receive quite an important asset. Um, Several people are asking for the school registration fees and student registration. So um, the fees are set and are mentioned on our website. Now there is a standard fee for individual schools, so that participate, let's say, in small numbers or just individuals outside, let's say, a larger group of schools. Um, and then there is a student registration fee, which is 1,500 rupees per student. This is the standard. Um, but this you will find all these fees on the website, and when you get in touch with our representatives as well. So this is the standard. The standard fee is 1,500 rupees per student, which covers all the printing of the booklets, the transport, of the booklets, the transport of the prices. So we send everything from our side, and so this price is needed to cover all our costs, and of course the costs of our people in the office and so on. So it's I think it's a it's a necessary and hopefully an acceptable fee for the students. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, the expected date for the following competition is November 2026, and the registrations are already open. So you can find on our website the details for the registration and the form. Um, Also, you can get in touch with our representatives, with Rose and our team in Lahore for this, and also with Amar for registration details. In case you have any other concerns, but all the forms will be available on our website. So just check our website. Um, and if you don't find the form now, just check again in the following days. As I know we are doing some updates, so not sure if the form will be directly fillable online, but we'll try to make it also available so that you can complete it directly online, so you don't have to use uh, any other any other tool. So this will be available very soon. Okay. Now, as for the agenda for the following hours, so we have the slot. We said that this training session will take 3 hours. Now we are going to present a few tasks across Bebra, so you get yourself a feeling of how this competition actually looks like, what the children get to see. And my presentation will be across a wide range of topics in computer science and computational thinking. We'll also make a few breaks across the meeting. So after presenting some of the tasks of the major, let's say, of some computer science topics, we'll do a short break, about 10-minute break. And then I'm going to continue with some more specific tasks on various technical subjects. Okay. So let's look at some tasks related to algorithms and data structures. So some of the topics that we can encounter in the Bebras task are, for example, lists which are basically a sequence of elements that are linked between them. So we have a sort of relation between the elements. And here's one example of task that is related to this concept of a list. So the task is as follows. At the Bebrasland airport, some passengers can drop off their bags at any of the three check-in counters. And we can see these check-in counters here at the bottom. So counter 1, counter 2, and counter 3. And basically the operators at the check-in counters will place bags one at a time on the vertical lane. As each new bag is placed, the operator presses a button to move the bag forward. So for example, we can see here these two bags on counter 1. After the button is pressed, that uh, that belt basically will start moving and moving the bags. So after the bag reaches the horizontal lane, which we can see, sorry, which we can see here at the bottom, the horizontal lane, it will transfer automatically to it, so to this lane. And the bags on the three lanes you can see on the picture. And the question is, which of these four possible options shows a possible order of the bags on the horizontal lane. Okay, so we have here the four possible options, and the students have to decide what is a possible order. There is not a single order because we don't know how the bags from the vertical lanes will enter the horizontal one, but we know that there is some relative order. For example, the students have to realize here that um, within the same lane, the bugs cannot switch the place. So for example, if we look at the counter one, the students should realize that the green bug cannot go before the black one, just because it's in front of it. So it's a sort of logical thinking. And so they have to check from these four possibilities, which is the one that makes sense. Yeah. And someone mentioned correct answer is D. Well, actually it's A. So let's see why the others are not possible and why A is the right one. Let's take the wrong possibilities first. Let's see why B is wrong. On B, we have exactly what I just mentioned, the fact that on the lane, we have the green bag before, before the black one, which is basically contrary to what was on the counter one. Yeah, so they swap places, and this is not expected, unless of course someone's put it there manually, but this was not, let's say, part of the task. Then why C is wrong? Well, on C we have something similar, but from the second counter, we have this brown bag before the guitar, while on the counter two it was the opposite. First we should expect the guitar and then the bag. And then on answer D, again we have a mismatch of the ordering. For example, we can see here the brown suitcase after after the red bag, while here it was the opposite. So we were expecting the suitcase to go first and then the red bag. Yeah, so that's why B, C, and D are not correct. However, answer A is fine, is correct, because it respects the relative ordering for each counter. For example, the guitar here is before the brown bag, even if the brown bag came much later. The black suitcase and the green backpack are in the right order. And then again, all of these three from the counter three are in the right order, even if not one next to the other. So these are the this is the way, let's say, to solve such question. This is a moderate question, not considered a very difficult one. And it involves several concepts, computational thinking concepts like algorithmic thinking, computer science, topics like the queue, which is a type of list, first in, first out, and as well as the concept of a scheduler. Here's another interesting task that is also related to the concept of a list. It's also related somehow to, let's say, computer graphics, but is mostly related to lists. So here there is a teacher Ava, that is conducting an online class from home. And on her computer screen, Ava can see that there are 9 students who have joined the class. And you can see here the names of the 9 students in the image on the bottom left. And we have here the names: Emma, Maya, Bella, Ali, Raul, Anna, Diana, Alice, and James. And we are told that each of the 9 students is using a different computer in the school library. So they are in the school library using a different computer. And because the students are sitting next to each other, Ava, the teacher, can see on her screen which student is next to the other one, because as you can see, for each of the screens that are shown here, there is also half of the head of the left and right of the student. And then the question is, which of the 9 students is sitting in the middle? out of the nine. So if we think about the nine as sitting one next to each other in a row, we have to decide which one is in the middle by looking at all the images. So this is very related to the list because in order to decide who is in the middle, we need to do some processing. So start somehow. So one possibility here is, for example, starting from the left, or find which is the one further on the left, so that it doesn't have any other neighbors besides. And for this, we can look at the different images, and we can observe that, for example, James on the bottom right of the image, so right here, has no neighbors on the left. Yeah? There's only a girl on his right, but nobody on the left. So that means that we can assume that James is the one on the far left of the line. And then we can start from James and follow the path and see the sequences, the sequence of children in the library. So next to James is this girl, and this girl we can find it here on the top left, and it's Emma. And then from Emma we can look who is in the right. So we can match this image with Diana, with the image here. So Diana will be the third one. On the right of Diana, there is someone with some headphones, which is Lee. We can find it here. So this would be the fourth one. And on the right of Lee, there is this girl, which is Hannah. So this would be the fifth one. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the correct answer here would be Han, the fifth one, because they are 9. So this is quite an interesting example of a task that involves the concept of lists. Okay, let me show you now another one. Okay. Now, another interesting concept that appears quite often in the task from Bebras is the one related to binary search. In binary search, we have a list of elements, as you can see here, for example, these integer numbers 3, 7, 10, 13, 18, 22, 25. And we assume that this list is sorted, either increasing or decreasing. Here is increasing. And the algorithm of binary search involves a very efficient and let's say smart search algorithm, which basically starts in the middle and checks if that's the element that we are searching for. If not, it looks at the elements on the left. Otherwise, it looks at those on the right, and repeats this every time with just a part of the elements. So for example, first we check the number 13 if this is what we are looking. For example, let's say we're looking for element number 7. So we're looking at 13. It's not the one we're looking for, but we know that 7 is smaller than 13. So then we only look at the elements on the left half. So we look at the elements 3, 7, and 10, and we repeat the search. And we search again the middle one, which is 7, and we found it. So it's very fast because it's guaranteed to provide you the element you are looking for in the smallest number of steps on average. And here's a question that is related to this concept of binary search. This is quite an interesting task from the competition two years ago. Okay, so we have Captain Boris looking for a hidden treasure on an island. So the captain has a map that shows where the treasure is. And this is the map that you can see here on the bottom. So we can see the map here. And we know that the treasure is somewhere here. And we are told that the map is divided into 16 regions, which you can see here labeled as A, B, C, D, and so on until P. So these 16 squares with letters. And the Captain Boris has a special device, and we are told that the captain can enter any number of regions into special device, and the device will tell him if the treasure is in one of those regions or not. So he can select part of the map, even the entire map, and say if the treasure is there or not. So the device, as you can see here in the example, if, for example, Captain Boris selects regions A, C, and D, and then the treasure happens to be in one of these regions, then the device will say yes. Otherwise, this device will say no. So we are assuming that is a sort of, let's say, special compass for finding treasures. And the question is, what is the least number of times that Captain Boris would need to use the device to ensure, so to make sure that he will always find the treasure? Um, this task requires the student to realize that we need, let's say, a general algorithm, general framework, because it says the least number of times to ensure that we will always find the treasure. So it's not just that it works once. For example, let's say if the treasure is in F or it's in I or something like that, it works once. We want to make sure that it always finds the treasure in the minimum number of times. So what would be the approach? And the approach is, in this case, it's actually the binary search. So the student should realize that by using such a device, where I can put a number of regions, I can come up with a method that is very efficient in combination with this device. This device is basically the binary search algorithm, where we have the regions somehow divided or sorted for this particular concept. And the idea is illustrated in the following slide right here. So the current answer is 4. We need four searches at most to find for sure the exact region every time. So the 4 means that with 4 queries on this device, we can guarantee that we found where the treasure is, no matter where the treasure is placed. So in any selection, so in any position that treasure is, we can guarantee that we will be able to find the treasure with 4 searches. And the idea is the following: to divide basically this map, so the 16 regions, as you can see here, into 2 halves. So every time we divide it in 2, it could be left and right or top and bottom, as is done here. It's a division top-bottom. So we divide it into the top 8 regions and the bottom 8 regions. And then we send this to the device. And we ask the device, for example, if the treasure is on the top regions. So let's say we asked if it's in the top regions and the device say no. So here we mark with red the fact that we know it's not on the top regions. So we ask again the device now for the bottom regions. So now we only have 8 regions to search for. So from 16, we reduced the search space down to 8. So to half of it. So we know it's not on the top, so we have to search on the bottom. And now we do the same for the bottom regions. We divide again the space into 2, and we ask the device, for example, for the right side. So the one that is in pink here. Yeah, we ask for these 4 regions, and then the device maybe tells us again that it's not there. So then we can again mark these regions as red, meaning that we know it's not there. So now we are left with only 4 regions to look for the treasure. And again, we can make the same division, split the search space into 2 parts, and we can look, for example, at the right 2 parts and ask for these 2 parts on the device. So we do this final query, and then say if it's there or not. And if it's not there, we mark it again red, and we are left with only 2. And sorry, this was not the final query. We need one more. So we are left with only these 2 queries. So now we have to do just one final query. For example, for the bottom one, we can ask if it's there or not. If it's there, we found it. If it's not, it means it's the other one. So for sure, at this step, after the 4th query, we know where this is, where the treasure is going to be located. So this is a sort of iterative algorithm which has appeared a few times in Bebras. Um, so for this sort of task, the student have to think about how to approach it um, in the least number of queries. So to find, let's say, the optimal solution. And perhaps there are several ways of how students can get to this by, for example, trying several examples and see how many times they will need to query the device. And maybe some of them will be able to determine that 4 is indeed the right minimum after doing several searches. Some students will perhaps find an argument similar to what I present you. So this is, let's say, one of the slightly more difficult tasks. So that will require a little more time to think about it. Okay. Another set of tasks are related to sorting. Some of the tasks are related to the concept of sorting elements. Like in this task, we have here this image with some beavers. The beaver, as you've been able to tell by now, is, let's say, the representative animal of the competition. And here basically we have the question that in what sequence will the beavers stand if they are arranged in a way that beavers to the right have taller hats than beavers to the left. So it's a little bit tricky, the question, because the idea is that we are interested here just on the size or the height of the hats, not the heights of the beavers themselves, but the height of the hats. And that's why we have here also this grid line, so that students can compare a little bit easier the different heights. So for example, this hat has 1, 2, 3 lines. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. This one has only 2. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, and this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. So the students just need to be a bit um, focused on the question itself. So just to make sure that they write the right answer, so that they determine what is the question about. And here you can see basically this reorganization of beavers according to their hats. So what would be the expected ordering for them? Another another sort of concept that is very popular and that appears in particular for the larger groups, for the student and junior groups, is that related to graphs. So where we have a set of nodes that are connected in some way or another, and could be an order graph or order graph. And based on this structure, there are several questions that have been published a long time. One of them is this one, which is an easy one. So this is very simple, where we can consider, for example, some nodes as being represented by these animals, and we need to connect them with the corresponding animal. And I will show you after the first break more difficult questions with graphs, but this is, let's say, an easy one. Here we have this map showing the journey of some animals. And we can see that for each animal, there is a line going from its initial location on the left. So there is some initial location, for example, for the tiger, for the elephant, and so on. And there is a final location on the right. And we need to select which of these 4 possible connections for the middle part will make the line go from the animal on the left to the same animal on the right. So for example, here we have the tiger. We see the line from the tiger goes on the second place here from top to bottom. So it's the second place. And from the second place, we need to detect which of these four possible crosses or connections from left to right will continue this line in such a way that we arrive here again at the tiger. And if we look here on the right side, we can see that the line to the tiger is now on the third position. So a student can already determine or realize that the correct one needs to connect the second line from the left with the third on the right. So this is one basic condition to make sure that the tiger is correctly matched. So let's see. This, for example, here on the right, it connects the second on the left with the third on the right. So it's one possibility. Let's look at others, if others do the same. Here we have the second going to the fourth, so it's not good. Here we have the second going to the third. So this is also good. So just looking at the tiger, we can see that only answers B and D are possible. So we are left with B and D. So then we can take another animal, for example, the elephant, and we see that the elephant here on the left um, arrives at the third position, and on the right, it's on the top position. So between B and D, we need to check which one takes the third position on the left and connects it with the first position on the right. And let's see, B takes the third position on the left and connects it with the first on the right. So it seems this is good. If we look at the last one, it takes the third one on the left and connects the first on the right. So this is also good. Okay, so this is not enough. We need to look also at the other animals. Let's take the lion, for example, the last one. The lion goes on the first position on the left, and it's connected here on the right on the second position, on the second spot. Oh, sorry. So let's see now if this is matched. So the first position on the left with the second on the right. Here, for example, we have for answer B, the first position on the left, it's the last on the right. So that means that we would not be able to connect the lion. If we look now at the last answer, at answer D, we see that the first position on the left is connected to the second on the right, and this would allow also the lion to be connected. So it seems that the last answer, answer D, is doing the right mapping, and we can see this here, that indeed the correct answer was D. So the last piece. And here you can see the final connections after this was done. Okay. Now there are also some tasks that are related to algorithms, and one task that I also presented during the session we held last year in Lahore is this one, which is quite an interesting one. I think this one was from 2024, which is a task that combines several concepts, but it's mostly about some, let's say, algorithmical thinking. The task says as follows. Realizing that the amusement park is about to close, little Beaver Dean hops on his electric bike and hurries to the exit. So we can see here this mm, this Beaver Dean, that has this bike, electric bike, and there is this path that he needs to follow. He needs to follow this path, which initially is blue, then it's red, blue, red, blue. And here we have on the right what means that the path is green or blue. So we have these indications showing that, for example, a path that is blue means that it's a slow, means that it's taking a number of seconds to be crossed, and also it's showing you the energy level that is required. It was mentioned here at the beginning that it's an electric bike, so that means that it probably requires some batteries, and that's why it's mentioned later on that the bike needs to be used wisely. So this is the trick of the task. And here, if we look at these pictures here on the right, we can observe these two two concepts, basically, the concept of the time and the concept of energy. So these are the two elements that the student needs to consider for this task. So for the blue paths, there are two modes, similarly for the red paths, and it's mentioned here in this paragraph. It says that this bike has two speed modes, slow and fast. Not sure why it was mentioned uh, twice here, but anyway, slow and fast. And it cannot switch the modes during a path section. A path section is basically one of these links between two circles, which are mentioned here on the graph on the image. But it says that it can switch the modes at the end of a path section. So it can go slow and fast. For example, it could go slow on the first and fast on the second, or the other way around. And then we have this final information that this bike is charged by 20% when he starts. So at the beginning here, the bike has 20% energy, and then he needs to be sure that he has enough energy at the end, to reach the end. So with this 20%, he needs to manage his speed across all these sections, so the blue sections, the red sections, and so on, in order to reach the end. And in addition, there is also the detail in the question. I removed it here just for clarity, so that it fits into the screen. That there are these cell positions, which is mentioned actually here in the image. That there are these cell positions where the bike can be recharged. So every time the bike reaches the cell position, the bike is recharged by 20%, as it mentioned here. So we get an extra 20%. So then his job is to make sure that he goes through these sections as fast as possible, but keeping enough energy to reach the next energy cell. So from this one, this point, or this point. Then we can think about it. For example, for the first chunk, if we go from start to the first cell position, we see here that there are only blue sections. And on the blue sections, we have these two possibilities, going slow, going fast. If we go slow, we need 20 seconds and we use 5% of energy. If we go fast, we only need 10 seconds, but we are using 10% of the energy. On task, it's also mentioned that he wants to get to the end as fast as possible. So we want the minimum number of time, but still reaching there. So having enough energy. So if we were just to go fast, for example, on all these three regions, we could not reach the battery because by going fast, we are using 10% for each section. So that means that if we start with 20%, after we cover the first small section, we've used already 10% by going fast, and then moving to the second section, we have used the remaining 10%, and we are over. So we cannot reach the battery. That means that by looking at the slow motion possibility, with the slow motion, we are only using 5% of the battery. So we can combine the two. For example, if we have these three sections, three blue sections, we could take one in fast mode and two in slow mode. So one in fast and two in slow mode. Now, for this sort of task, I think it's also a good example where students should, of course, use a pen and paper and try to put some notes. Like for example, if I put this path, okay, I have so much energy left, so much use, and so on. And maybe I take the opportunity also to explain that for our competition, all the papers that we provide, all our competition, it's a paper based. So we provide the booklets. It's possible that in the near future we provide also the online version for people that would like to do this. But our main goal is to be able to do it in the paper version for several reasons. First of all, if we do it online and you have problems with the internet or you don't have enough computers, there is a big problem because you cannot do it with all the students that maybe would like to participate, or maybe it will not even be working in case there are some internet issues which we've seen lately happening. Uh, Secondly, by doing it pen and paper, the student can think much easier and much better about this sort of task than doing it just online with the mouse. Because when a student is online, is typically, let's say, motivated to think online. So we've seen this in practice, and there are also studies showing this, that when you do something paper-based, the the brain puts in a different is put in a different mode of thinking about the problem. So the student is encouraged basically to use the paper and actually think about the problem and try to solve it. In particular, for those that are a bit more difficult. So for each of the categories, we have easier questions, medium level questions, and harder questions. So in particular, for the harder ones, it's typically required for the student to try to use the pen and the paper to try to solve the question. So this is maybe also a good example where the student a good student could probably do it mentally as well, but if you use the pen and paper, it's easier to keep track of the things. So coming back to the question, here we can use on two of the tracks, we can use a slow mode and in one the fast mode. So that means that we have used 20%. And if you keep the count, so far we used 40 seconds plus 10, that means we are at 50 seconds so far here. Now we have a red section and the blue section to reach the next battery. So for the red section, we see here that on the two modes, slow and fast, one is using 10% energy, one is using 20% energy. If we were to use the fast mode on the red section, the battery would be over because we only recharge with 20% here. So we only had 20% just at the beginning, just the same as the beginning. So that means that we cannot use the fast mode. So we clearly need to use the slow mode in order to use only 10% of the energy. So that takes an extra 40%. And so we were here at 40 already. So the fast, sorry, at 50. So two slows and one fast, 50. And now we have this 40 seconds. So it's already 90 seconds up to here. And we have this other path and we have 10% left, meaning we can use the fast mode here. So we can add 10 more seconds and we are here at 100 seconds so far. And finally, and now we recharged again. It means that we can actually use the fast mode on this short red track because there is only one track here. So we can use the fast mode because we have 20% energy. So we do it in 20 seconds. And finally, we recharge again, and we have just one track left, which we can do again in fast mode, and it takes 10 more seconds. So in total, it's about 130 seconds, which I knew already the task so quite well. So for me, it was easy to do and compute, but maybe for the student, as I mentioned, it's easier if it's done on pen and paper. And so we see here the overall decomposition of the different paths of what I just explained for the correct answer. Okay, now I think we are going to do a small break. I have disabled at the beginning of the meeting the uh, the mic because there was some noise from I don't know, from some participants. There was some noise and they were not at the microphone, so I had to disable it. But we will have the chance to discuss after the break. So we'll have this small break. If you have any further questions, after the next break, we'll have a discussion session. So the last session will be a discussion one. Now let's have a 10-minute break before we start looking at this task by topic. So for about 1 more hour, maybe less than that, I will try to show you a few more questions from this recent year, from 2025, that just passed. I'll try to show you some of the most interesting ones across the age groups, and then we can have a question and answer session. So the last session will be for questions and answers. Okay, so let's say in about 45 minutes, we'll have the question and answer session, if that's fine for you. Okay, just allow me this small break to prepare the second part, and then we will do directly the question and answer. So just a small break of 10 minutes, and then we will be able to discuss. Okay. Okay, we will be resuming our meeting now. I will also. Hmm, I was requested to start the discussions. We will definitely have the question and answer. I just wanted to make sure that we fit within the time that we have allocated for the meeting, because I know that some people have allocated their time just for this. So that's why I would like just to go over a few tasks and then we can open the discussions. So I will be opening the mic just one moment. All right. So here's another task. Um, this is from the very recent competition, 2025. And this is quite an interesting one. As you can see here on the top, this task is supposed to be for years between 10, 12 or 12, 14. What you see here is how the tasks are developed for Bebras. So this is how the tasks are developed for Bebras. By the way, I have now enabled the microphone for everyone. So if there is any particular thing that is not clear, maybe we can do a short clarification. Raise your hand or just make a note that if you want to ask something. But I would prefer to defer a little bit the questions at the end of this, a few questions that, few presentations that I have left. So I just want to go over to some of the most interesting tasks from the previous competition. Basically this one that we just had in 2025, and then we can clarify any other things that you would like. So we can discuss. So this was an interesting task for these ages between 10, 12 or 12, 14. What we can see here, as I was saying earlier, is how the tasks look from the Bebras competition after the workshop. So after we have the international workshop, there is this great international effort in which we prepare tasks for the competition. And this task come with a lot of information. It's not just the task itself, as you've seen earlier on the slides or as we provide in the booklets, but they come with a lot of material behind. And this is one example of what we can see here. So this is the task itself. In this particular case, we have this beaver that is sitting here on a chair, and the question says that we want to program an online game, and the beaver is Xavier is would like to make his first online game, and he would like to transform a picture, so doing a sort of image transformation. And he only knows two operations for how to transform this picture. And these operations are marked here as M and R. M, it's a mirroring operation, and you can see here how the image is basically mirrored on the vertical axis. So from left to right, input to output. And here a rotation operation, R operation, which is basically rotating 90 degrees the image, as you can see here. So we have here an initial image and here a final image. And the question is, which of these sequences, four possible sequences, go from this initial image to this final image? So the student have to uh, realize or check which of these sequences will eventually go from this original image on the top to this final image. And the approach here, the standard approach would be just to take them in order, although you can also observe maybe some things, but here by just taking them in order, I think it will be solvable by most students. So for example, if we do a mirroring, which means going in this position and then right, we can see that we already obtained the answer. So this time is quite easy. And so the first operation, doing a mirror, and then doing a rotation, we already obtained the final picture. Yeah. Um, and then let's say other possibilities. For example, it says here that the correct answer is C, not A. So let's see why. Um, Rotating first and then mirroring. Um, Rotating first and then mirroring. Um, I see. Mirror rotate. Yeah, no, it's actually there's a slight typo here. This should be A actually here. I think this file was not updated with last version. As you can see here, it's actually answer A. So as I mentioned, first we mirror and then rotate. Um, I will see exactly why there was this typo here left, but anyway. In the explanation, it is the correct answer mentioned why it is just this minor glitch here. What I wanted to show is that here there are several other aspects given for the task. So first of all, why is this informatics? And it's explaining here about several topics that are related to informatics. For example, here simulating the execution of a short program, which is what we did here, basically applying two operations, a mirroring and a rotation. And in this case, also special reasoning in order to play with pictures and have some sort of a mental image of what happens after each sequence. It's also important for many applications. And also there is this sort of um, entire, as you can see here, string of work. This is a sort of output where you can see how much work has been done to create this task. So one task, just so that you can get a feeling of the quality of the Weber's task. So the initial task was submitted to the workshop, and then there was a larger group of people that contributed to actually make the task, to make the task. Okay, so this was one of the tasks that I wanted to show you. Let me share a different one. Okay, here is a slightly more difficult one. This is for the group age 14-16. You can see it here mentioned again on the top. And this is for the more difficult category. So even if the category, the age category is also higher, but also even for 14-16, it's from the medium towards, let's say, hard category, in the sense that the student needs to check very carefully the question and the details. And we'll see in a moment why this is a little bit tricky, this particular question. So here we have the body of the question, which says that we have a standard digital clock, the one that you can see here in the pictures, which changes every minute. You know, as these digital clocks that you probably have at home as well. And it's showing the time using the four digits. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And each digit contains seven segments. This is a standard display known as 7-segment display, because each of them, as you can see here, it has these seven segments that can be on or off. For example, for the one, we have two of the segments lit and the others are off. So this is one, off, 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 and on. Okay, so these are the seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and basically now we are told that uh, we have a problem of data wearing or segment wearing. So the segments wear out every time they're activated. So this is the problem of this question. So every time we switch from off to on. So every time we switch from off to on, there is some degradation of that particular segment. And the segment that is activated the most times will need to be replaced first. So the idea of the question is that at some point, some of these segments will stop working and needs to be replaced. And we are asked the following: which of the 28 segments, so there are 7 in each of the 4 digits, so we have 7 times 4, 28 segments, need to be replaced first? Basically explaining which is the one that we think is going to be used the most, so switched from off to on. And it's it's quite an interesting question. How would you approach this? Let's see. First of all, we need to decide which of the 4 digits is going to be used most frequently in the clock. And it's clear that the last one is the one that switches most frequently, because it's the one that is it changes every minute, because every minute one of these changes. So this is the one that changes every minute. This one only changes every 10 minutes, and this one only every hour, and this only every 10 hours. Okay. So by looking at the one on the right, then we have to decide which of the segments, of the 7 segments, is going to be the one that will be replaced. And we can look at the solution for the task. It's explained here. It shows a map of all the segments from 0 again to 0, how they are switching. And here you can see a table where it says how many times each of the segments is activated from A to E as they are labeled here. And you can see that for segment E, which is the one here, so the one on the bottom left, this one right here, is activated most often because it's activated for numbers 2, 6, 8, and 0. And the number of segments that are where they're for. Anyway, it's a little bit tricky because if you were to look just at the segments that are on the most often, it would not be E. Maybe it would be actually the segment B is the one that is on most of the time, but it's not about which segment is on most of the time, but it's about which segment switches the state from on to off most of the time. So that's why I say it's a little bit tricky. First of all, because the student needs to realize which of the segments to look at, so which of the numbers, and this is the one on the right side, and then to realize which is the one that is actually activated and deactivated most often, because this is what the question was asking for. And Again, you can see here that for this particular task, we are given the body, which is what goes in the booklets that the student receive. And then, as a teacher, as a coordinator, you can also receive from our side. For the past competitions, we also provide these answers, so you can prepare. You can prepare with your students. Um, Okay, let me show you one final question, which I think is rather interesting from last year, and which was actually created by our team, and then we can have a discussion. And if you want, I can show you more questions, or otherwise we can discuss any other queries you might have. Okay, this was a task that we gave in the last year competition for the junior group. And here we can see this sort of food machine, which was called the Bebravi food machine. That is a machine to prepare some dishes. These dishes are shown here on the right. So you can see several dishes that can be created. For example, a sort of soup, some sticks, some hamburger, some sandwich, and some salad. And you can see here the ingredients that are needed to create that recipe. And what we are told is that this machine processes the incoming ingredients as they are coming on this tray. So we have here this sort of input tray. So as the ingredients come in the machine prepares these dishes if the ingredients are available on the tray. And we are told that each recipe must be matched exactly using consecutive ingredients in that correct order. So it's not possible to make a recipe just by taking ingredients from here and from there, but they need to be in that particular order as they are mentioned here on this sort of sticker. And the machine cannot skip the ingredients, but however, unused ingredients can be passed through. So for example, it's possible to have some ingredients that is not used in order to make a recipe that is larger from the following one. So here is an example. If we have this input on the machine that is coming here, for example, at the input, this sequence of ingredients, we can process them in three different groups. For example, a group that creates a salad, a group that creates a soup, and just the onion in the middle that stays as it is. So we don't do anything with it. Hmm? Okay, so now, and the question is the following. If we have at the input of the machine these ingredients, the following ingredients, what is the smaller number of outputs, dishes, and unprocessed ingredients that the machine can produce with this input? So it's about splitting this in such a way that we produce the smaller number of inputs, meaning the smaller number of dishes. So for this, the student has to realize that we need to maximize the ingredients, meaning to take recipes that use most of the ingredients. So for example, if we look at the hamburger that uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients, and we look at the beginning of the belt, we see that actually the first 6 correspond to the hamburger. If you look at the sandwich, this is the tricky part. If you look at the sandwich, by using just 3 ingredients, which are the same for the hamburger, you could use the sandwich and then perhaps the salad, but then you would have 2 dishes with the same set of ingredients. So instead of doing 2 dishes, you make just one. So if you combine the um, sandwich and the salad, you actually can do the hamburger if they are coming in that order on the machine. Okay, so these are the sort of questions you will have, and over the following months, I will be posting, um, let's say, um, in periodically some further training materials, for example, for some of the questions, some easier, some harder, and for the various groups. Okay, I'll stop here for now, the presentation of these questions, and I would like to have a discussion or answer any queries you might have. So I've activated already your microphone, so I think that anybody that has queries, you can let me know. Or maybe if you want to write on the chat, we can also look at that if you don't want to. Um, just a moment. Mm. I understood from Rose that there were some people that wanted to discuss things. So I would like to ask you now if there is someone that wants to ask anything related to what we discussed, either regarding the overall aspects of the competition or some particular task or anything else. I think that now would be a good time to answer these questions. Otherwise, I'll start looking at the questions from the chat and try to respond to those. But if anybody has a question and wants to ask directly, please just just unmute and ask the question, and we can discuss. Okay, so let me take these things from these questions from the chat. Okay, so there were many questions at the beginning about the registration fees and so on. I think I've commented on that already. That the fee for the students is 1,500, and then you'll find all this information on the website as well. The competition is scheduled for 3-4 November, as you've seen there. To register, you just complete the form, the registration form that we have for schools, and you send it to us. And we will also try to make it available on our website so that you can complete it directly there and just add the confirmation of the school registration fee there. Okay. About sharing the presentation, yes, this presentation will be shared on a specific group. So the WhatsApp group that you have will, once we post this on our YouTube channel, we'll make sure to distribute the link. Okay, so once it's there. Um, I was asked what is the vision of this organization. Well, we try to promote Bebras in Pakistan. So this is our main focus at the moment, to promote Bebras in order to help in the education in this very important field of computer science. So this is what we're trying to do at the moment. So I received a question about teachers, how to use what I presented you as a teacher. So for the teachers and coordinators. The last few questions that I presented earlier, maybe I should do another sharing. Just 1 moment. I take the opportunity to answer that question. I take the opportunity to answer that question. Just a moment. Okay, I have someone here. Asif George. Okay, please, Asif, go on.
Uh, First of all, thank you very much, sir, for the brief introduction about beverages and the way how can we help the students to attempt the questions more easily. Just one more thing that I want to clear for myself. For the brief introduction about beverages and the way how can we help the students to attempt the questions. I'm so sorry. I was listening my own voice, so I'm repeating. Sir, just do let me know as in a year, every year Babra is being conducted in Pakistan, but in very busy schedule, and school has his own timetable, its own timetable. Uh, how can we help the student within the school to manage uh, this context? I mean that how to help them to prepare well, as there is no proper guide for the teachers even. Although it's so simple when you were explaining, but as a teacher, many times I felt that I am unable to solve that question or those logical tasks. So, is there anything that you think can be helpful for the students I just want a little help that we can use any source, any material to help our students to prepare well. As these are the computational thinking, logical questions, of course they take time. And in our busy schedule, we do have our own timetable. How can we help our students so that they can be motivated and sir, am I allowed to complete my question, or you have understood it already?
No, yes.
Ask you, George.
I understood. Please complete. There was just a lot of noise, so I tried to stop a little bit of the noise, but please complete it.
Sorry, there was some distortion. Should I continue?
Understood it already. No, yes. Ask you, George. Please complete. There was just a lot of noise, so I go on, Mr. Asif. Complete it.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Actually, I just want your help, your support, your guide. Like schools have their own timetable, and whenever the Webra task come or Webra context come, of course we do not have enough time to guide our students. Even sometimes the teachers are unable to solve these logical and computational questions. So, do we have some kind of material, videos, or some kind of helping material that can be used to prepare our students well, especially in the lower classes like 4, 5, 6, 7?
Okay, so this is particularly what I wanted to answer right now. This is what I wanted to explain earlier. Let me just do another share, just one moment.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So for the teachers, for the training, we provide several materials for training, both for the teachers as well as for the students. First of all, you have access to all the past questions from Bebras for the past 7 years. I think it's already on our website. Since 2016, you have them there. If you go to our website, and I will show you in a moment, you have a link there, and you can get the past papers. So this is something we've been provided already for the past years. So these are the papers that we did for in Pakistan for the past years. Beside the past papers, what we've been doing for the past few years is to provide a special booklet with solutions. So, for example, if we take this task that I'm showing right now, this is one of the most difficult tasks, I would say, from Bebras 2025, and it involved a graph with many connections here. Here you see the representation of some sort of transportation lines, like for example buses or undergrounds or so on. And the idea was in this task, I'm just telling you briefly, to find what is the shortest number here. If we look at the question, what is the shortest time for a person to reach from this home to the theater, even when changing the buses, if he knows that the buses start at a certain time and they take a certain time to reach a particular solution. So there are a lot of computations involved and things that the student needs to keep track. So this can be a bit difficult at the beginning, and in particular for teachers to teach this sort of question, what you were asking me, because you have limited time. So what we provide is not just the questions, the past questions, but for a selection of the tasks, which we consider maybe the most interesting or representative, we also provide these solutions that come with the questions. So you have here the entire explanation of how to sort this task. So this is what is very interesting about Bebras, is that the international community provides not just the question, but also the solution and how to solve this task. And I think this is something you can use for your students, for your preparation for Bebras, and even for other, let's say, computational thinking classes you might be willing to use. So for the schools that register with us, we provide before the competition this material. And so for the schools that have registered with us. And here you can see that it's a detailed answer explanation. For example, here showing the path that needs to be taken and why it's that, and it's explained in quite a length. Maybe I won't go now over the entire description, but there's quite a lot of detail of how to solve this task. Furthermore, there is also this relation to informatics, where it explains how this task is related to concepts, for example, in this case of a directed graph, which is a very popular topic in informatics, in computer science. And here actually the problem is to find the shortest path between two vertices on the graph. So it also tells you what is the precise computer science problem that is tackled within the concept of graphs. And then there's also this aspect relating of what is this computational thinking, like how the student needs to think about a particular task. For example, it says, this task forces computational thinking by emphasizing data representation, algorithmic reasoning, and sequencing. It involves analyzing structured data, including bus departure intervals, travel times, and transfer conditions, identifying patterns in this numerical data, tracking multiple synchronized sequences, and determining valid transitions based on predefined constraints are essential for finding correct solution. Effective data processing ensures accuracy in decision making. Algorithmic thinking is fundamental, as solving the task requires constructing a structured sequence of steps, and so on. And here there are also some links that you can use to further check about the concepts that were involved in this task. Like for example, this shortest path problem, or dynamic programming, or in general about graphs. And if you go to these links, they are generally given for the Wikipedia or for some other sources where you can find more knowledge about the things that were used when developing these tasks. Okay, Mr. Asif, does this answer your question about preparation materials? Okay, I hope this has answered the question. on that.
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes, yes, sir, Mr. Muhammad, please tell me.
Thank you so much, sir. In a single session, a teacher cannot understand how to solve or how to teach our students. It's take more time. Another question that in a rural area where we teach, where there are students cannot pay the fee. So it's also a difficult task for us.
Mr. Muhammad, I could not understand very well the question. Could you type it on the chat, please, or repeat it because I couldn't understand very well your question.
Okay, sir, I can type because there is an internet issue.
Okay, while Mr. Muhammad is typing the question, I would like to answer one more that I've seen in the chat to clarify one thing that um, was asked previously also in other meetings. Which strategies can we use for this competition? Or maybe I would link this question also to the uh, training again on how students train for this. And I think the general training is just uh, doing, as I mentioned earlier, some of the previous tasks. Yeah, so as we provide the material from already more than 7 years of competitions, I think there is a lot of training material for students to prepare themselves. There is not uh, a single or a unified, let's say, theory for this because this is the aim of the competition, as I mentioned at the beginning. It's not about knowledge of the students of a particular material, like you need to know a set of how to solve a degree two polynomial equation in mathematics or something like this. It's about logical thinking. It's precisely to train the students in this framework of computational thinking. So by participating in BEBRA's eventually several years, the student will develop this computational thinking and by preparing through these competitions. And it will understand how to solve problems using this computational approach because many of the algorithms or ways to solve questions, they get repeated at some point. Okay, let's see. So in your message from the chat, you said that in a single session, a teacher cannot understand how to solve or how to teach our students. It takes more time. I guess this is up to the teacher. Yeah, so how you teach your student and so on. So you have to manage this somehow. For example, I know that some schools have done many sessions with the students. This. So one particular school actually told me that they've met many times before the competition in order to prepare well for that. So this is up to each school. We cannot impose the program on that. We give you the resources, and it's up to each particular school coordinator and so on to spend the time with the students if they want to prepare for that, or the students themselves, of course. So you can give the resources to the students, and each student is free to prepare also on their own time.
ये सलीम वो फेल करते हैं कपड़े उन्होंने मुस्लिम मैन को बताया
As for the second question, Mr. Muhammad, regarding the fee, um, because we have to print these things we have, to send this. So the printed books, we have to send the gifts and so on. All of this takes takes a substantial cost, So in order to be able to continue this competition, we have to charge this fee. So I'm sorry if in some regions this is very difficult. In any case, get in touch with my team and let them know your query. Okay, if you have any difficulties, and they will maybe be able to help you somehow. Um, okay, any other questions? Let's see. I see a question here in the chat. How can we make parents to have interest in participating in their children? As in one class, 30 students, but only 2 or 3 students participate in the competition. Hmm. I guess this is up to the principal somehow to convince. Maybe our team lead in Lahore, Ms. Zarina, can give you some hints on that because she's very good. I mean, she was the principal of a larger um, chain of schools. So maybe she should provide a session on that. Maybe we will do that. That's a good question on how to convince the parents. Maybe it's a good idea to try to explain how to make the competition more appealing for the parents. But I think first of all, the motivation that we provide to the principals, we generally give a letter. Every year for the competition, we give a letter inviting you to the competition, and we also provide a motivational letter about the advantage of the students participating in the beverage challenge. And this letter can be used by the principal of the school or by the coordinator to convince the parents because it explains the advantage of the competition, which I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. This is the fact that you get access to an internationally um, known competition and an international community, and that you're basically participating alongside all the countries that are participating in BEBRAS. So at the moment, over 74 countries worldwide, and of course, all the non-countries with, let's say, large education centers like United States, United Kingdom, France, Italy, Germany, and so on. Okay. Let me see what else is here. Hmm. Any other questions from your side?
Hello, I have a question, sir.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I want just my name is Mohammed Akil. I'm from basically interior side of Pakistan, now living in Karachi. I have a question that if some students who not means you are signing letters to the principal of the school, but if any students want to individual participate in your competition, then what is the process for it? So let me know that right now I want some students to participate in this competition, and then what is the process for them? Let me know, please.
Yes, so we have several possibilities for this. I think the first possibility.
We couldn't hear.
So the first possibility that we have considered is and that we actually did last year is for the student to find a school nearby. This would be, let's say, the recommended approach. So if the student is in a school that is not registered with BEBRAS, but the student wants to participate in BEBRAS, the best approach is to find another school that is registered with BEBRAS if there is such a school nearby. So we had this case for actually the top winner. So the gold medalist in our competition in last year, his own school was not participating in BEBRAS, but a nearby school was participating and was willing to accept him as a participant in the competition. And he was definitely highly motivated, and he obtained, as I mentioned, one of the gold medals. So this is one particular approach. We are at the moment aware of this situation. Several people asked us this question, and we are trying to find alternative approaches. I don't want to confirm yet um, what are the exact steps that we will be taken in this direction, but we will let you know as soon as we have something more clear. So we will try to make some arrangements for these situations, in particular if there are no schools near you. But for now, if you don't have any of the schools where you can, well, the best is if your own school can register, that would be the best. So let's say the first approach is to convince your school to actually participate in BEBRAS and maybe even gather more students around. If not, find a school nearby that can host you, and if nothing works, then get in touch with us, and we'll try to find a solution for the student. So we'll try to make efforts in getting all the students that want to participate in the competition. I hope this answers, at least in part, your question. I see here some comments that my voice is not clear, you cannot hear me. I think this also has to do with the internet connection in each site. I've asked my team right now if you can hear me, and apparently in my office in Ahor, the voice is quite clear. I apologize and I'm sorry if this is not the case for other locations. I think it has to do with the internet connectivity from various locations, from the Zoom server to the particular location. In any case, since I got the question about a future session, I cannot confirm yet this, but we have the plan to make another session maybe on site in Ahor later on, but it's not confirmed yet. In any case, this session that we had today is going to be recorded, and hopefully you can watch it again. And I'm hoping that the recording quality, the sound, will be clear enough for everybody that wants to watch it again. Okay, so once the recording is done, you will be able, I think, to get the sound acceptable if the internet improves. I think someone wants to put a question. If you can repeat, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Do you have any
Sir,
any
I
other
have a
other
question.
question?
If someone like a teacher want to participate in the competition or events that are held internationally, but school don't want to support him, so how can it can be managed?
Yes, so I think this was the question that was put earlier, right? So if your own school is not supporting you, then the first approach would be to find a nearby school in your vicinity that is willing to participate in Bebras. That would be the first solution, because then it's easier for us to send all the materials to the school, the prices and so on, so to keep the communication with the school. Typically, we prefer to keep the communication with schools rather than with individuals, because it's just not manageable for us to manage the communication and the transit of booklets and so on with students. And so typically we work with schools. So this is the main approach. But as I mentioned earlier, we are thinking about how to accommodate students that are not able to find a school nearby or that don't have a school nearby. So we'll think about possible approaches about this, but we don't have let's say a final solution for that yet. But we will let you know in due time. Please, in a moment, just get in touch with my team so that we know about you if you are in a situation where there is no school nearby that wants to participate in Bebras. Although as I mentioned, the best is that you find a school near you that will participate.
Okay, sir. I have a same question for the teachers.
What do you mean the same question for the teachers? If you could clarify, please.
Sir, you are explaining about the students, and I am asking the question about the teachers. If someone teacher individually want to participate in the conference or the competition like internationally, so how can you help him in this scenario or not, without the support of school?
Okay, so if the teacher doesn't have the support of the school,
Yeah.
mm, this is very difficult without the support of the school. Um, I don't have a clear answer to that at the moment, but I think the best would be to get in touch with us so that maybe we can help you with some motivational letter for your school. So maybe we can get the support of the school, or we can, I don't know, find some means such that the school accepts the participant under some condition. I don't know. So we have to come to some agreement, because the school is necessary to hold the competition as well, because you need a place where the students are when you hold the competition. As I mentioned earlier, we expect the school and the representative to oversee the contest itself. If you do it outside the school, it's going to be difficult for everybody, I think.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I got your point.
Okay.
Sir, I am Manti Shankar. I have a question. Um, how can student individual register in your competition?
Okay, I think I've asked this already. I mean, this is what we've been discussing for the past few times. Okay, so for the individual student, just find the school near you. Okay, a school near you, or just try to convince your school. And if nothing works, just get in touch with our representatives. Okay, this is what I've already mentioned.
Okay. What is your institution name, sir?
It's Illumined, as it's in the title of my name here.
Hello. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I have another question. I have asked you a question before as well. It's really very beneficial for the teachers to join these kind of sessions. It's not only beneficial for us to teach the students, uh, but also it's very very helpful for us to build up our teaching abilities as well. So I hopefully in the upcoming months you will uh, have another session as well. So my question is very, very simple. That how can we get certificate of this session? Because it's very, very beneficial for us in the future.
Yes, I think this we can sort out after the meeting. For all the people that have registered uh, uh, through a form, we will try to send to the emails that have been registered. So the people that have registered on the meeting, we will try to send them. We will the information that was provided on the registration form for this. If you don't receive any email about this, then you can get in touch. With our support team. Just send an email to contact@illuminedminds.org, and we'll try to reply as soon as possible for this matter. Okay, so we will be sending probably in the following weeks this certificate. All right. I don't see any new questions on the chat or here on the list. If there is any other question, we have a few minutes left from the time. If there's someone else that has some query.
Good morning, sir. I am Maria Muskan from St. Mary's School. Sir, what is the process of registration? And you will provide us material from where we will guide us student. How will guide us student for registration fees? Good afternoon, sir. I am.
All right. If there is if there are no further questions, then I think we can stop here for now, and you will be able to get the registration of this event, of this session. As soon as we were able to process it, we'll put it on our YouTube channel, and I think even the live streaming that was on the YouTube will be available very shortly. So you should be able to have it if someone else is interested in following this. We thank you very much for joining us, and I really hope this was helpful, at least for the teachers and principals to get a better idea of the beverage competition and our organization. And we look forward to seeing you on the competition, which I mentioned it's scheduled for the beginning of November. So for the beginning of November, and you have here the information about our contacts. This is I forgot to update the date. It's not to December, as I mentioned. It's going to be on November. So 2026. This was from last year. This I forgot to update this slide. But you have here our website, and you can follow us on the Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for Illumined Minds, and just contact us. We look forward to your updates. Yes. Okay. So thanks again for all of the presentation, and we'll keep in touch with the registration with my teams, and of course with all the schools. Okay. Bye bye.